The Minister of Finance, in his budgetary presentation for fiscal 2023, has indicated that Tobago is going to get $2.521 billion, which represents 4.3% of the total budget for the nation. This is in keeping with the agreement whereby Tobago must get a minimum of 4.3% of the national budget. Of this figure, however, 2.194 billion has been allocated for recurrent expenditure. Now, of course, this would be based partially upon the figures that would have been submitted by the THA itself. However, we of the Tobago Business Chamber, we have continuously advocated that this is way too much of your budgetary allocation to be on recurrent expenditure. This represents 87% of your budgetary allocation. Last year it was, I think, 88%. So these figures are way too high for all of this to be on recurrent expenditure. Recurrent expenditure simply means you are just spending money to stay afloat. This is not anything that you are building any capital development or any infrastructural development or any capital intensive programs. No, this is simply money to stay afloat. You paying your expenses, your bills, your rents, your leases, so you're just spending money basically to stay in the same position. So that does not represent the type of growth or development we would like to see for Tobago. We've also not seen any indication, either from the THA or the central government, of a comprehensive long-term plan for Tobago to begin to start to achieve some sort of financial self-sustainability and economic independence. We've not seen the repeal of the Foreign Investment Act, which is something we had called for repeatedly. So in that regard, we keep making the point that Trinidad and Tobago is in a foreign exchange crisis. Why would the government not repeal this legislation, which is a direct block and bar to foreign investment in Tobago? We have several persons who have approached us and they wish to make huge investments in Tobago, but once they see the requirements of that Foreign Investment Act and all the red tape that is involved, they immediately abandon the idea and they go to the other islands where it's much easier to make that investment. So the government has no excuse at this point, none whatsoever, for not repealing this archaic and anachronistic piece of legislation, which has been a millstone around the neck of Tobago and a bugbear to any direct foreign investment in the island. We also have not seen reflected in the budgetary presentation our suggestions as to the removal of VAT to make Tobago a VAT-free zone or to make Tobago a duty-free zone. And we keep making the point to the Minister of Finance in the hope that one day these suggestions will bear fruit. As for agricultural development in Tobago, we have suggested that the government create a dedicated CPEP and URP agro sector so that they will be focused specifically on revitalizing the agricultural industry in Tobago. Again, we have not seen that. So this appears to be much more of the same, and we appear to be going nowhere fast in terms of the way this budget is presented, in that it presents no clear plan to the best of our ability that we can see or discern from it. It presents no clear plan for economic growth and infrastructural development upon which Tobago can build and find its way towards self-sustainability and economic independence.